Okay, so sit yourself on your lift. So put my glasses on. I can find them. I had them a minute ago. So where they are now. Okay, so I have to knock out my glasses. So sit yourself on your lift. Come into a good cross-legged position. Oh, there they are. Sometimes you need your glasses on to find your glasses, don't you? Right. So sit yourself on your lift, just adjust so that you feel evenly placed. Just hold onto your knees and elevate the front chest upwards. So feel that you really lift the chest and draw the shoulders down away from your ears and draw the skin of your back chest downwards. So there's this feeling of lift in the front chest, and then the back chest draws down like a waterfall. Just spend some time just observing the breath. Just looking at something that's not moving. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. Emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Observing the smoothness of the flow of the breath. Observe that there are 6 stages of the breath. The beginning of the breath, the body of the breath, the end of the breath. So that's just 3. But there are those stages of the in-breath and the out-breath. So observe with your in-breath the beginning, the body, and the end of the breath, making them equally smooth throughout. And then the end leads to the beginning, to the body, to the end, to the beginning, to the body, to the end. So there's this circularity. So observe each stage of the breath. The beginning of the breath, the body of the breath, the end of the breath. Observing how the end of the breath leads to the beginning of the breath. Keep your eyes still, just looking at the floor. And with an exhalation, bring your hands into Namaste. Lengthening from the armpits into the elbows and closing the eyes. Observing the 6 stages of the breath. Just observing how the end leads to the beginning, and how observing each stage of the breath helps to smooth the flow of the breath. Try and get the transition from the end of the breath to the beginning of the breath as smooth as you can. Every now and then, just suspending the end of the breath very briefly, just for a second or two before you smoothly transition to the beginning. So if you find that the breath becomes slightly jagged, then pause at the end of the breath to stabilize it. Otherwise, just letting the end flow into the beginning. And with an exhalation, draw your chin down to meet your chest and maintain the breath while you seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone. Or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of positive abundance in your heart area, and then release your hands down to the knees, palms facing upwards, and then raise your head as you allow your eyes to softly open. Just hold on to your knees, lift and open the chest, elevating the spine upwards. So maintain that really well observed breath, and I'd like you to try and maintain that throughout the session. So when we do the more physical poses, see if you can do those physical poses that require the extension of the body, the extensions that we've incorporated into our poses in the past, but with this sense of 6-pronged breath. Let's take a deep inhalation. And then with the exhalation, turn to the right side, just maintaining that flowing, smooth flowing breath. Using the out breath to intensify the turn. Using the in breath to fill the lungs with energy. Using the out breath to distribute that energy around the body. Observe if anything changes with the breath. Maybe it becomes a little staggered just because there's a different physical sensation. Aim to stabilize the breath. Come back to the center, hold onto your knees, take a deep inhalation. And then turn to the left. Just suspending the end of the out breath if the breath becomes staggered. Observing the beginning, the body, and the end. using the out breath to distribute your energy around the body into the limbs. And then gently come back to the center. Just come off your lift and then sit back on your heels, big toes together, your knees are apart. Just press your shins into the shin skin. Press the shin bone into the shin skin. Lift and open the front chest, feeling the front chest elevates upwards, the back chest descends, taking the shoulders down with it. Just breathe evenly and deeply, and then extend your arms out in front. Draw your consciousness into each individual finger, maintaining the breath. Interlock the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then raise your arms. Baddhakonasana, sirvasana. Just observe if the breath changes and seek to make the in-breath and the out-breath smooth as possible. Observing those 6 points. Squeezing the outer elbows inwards, pushing the palms up towards the ceiling. Just release your arms, swap the interlock of your fingers. Just feel that you're really conscious of each individual finger. You can feel each individual finger, and then turn the palms, maintaining that consciousness of the fingertips, of the body of the finger, of where the finger starts. And then raise your arms over your head. And then release your arms. Just maintaining your consciousness of the middle, the beginning, the middle, and the end of the breath. And then come up onto all fours. Have your little fingers on the edge of the mat, stretch the thumbs towards each other, spread your palms. So we're going to go up into dog down, but once you go up on an out breath, so turn your toes under, so we can go up into dog down, press the palms into the floor, take a deep inhalation, and then come up into dog down. So I'm not going to talk you through the pose as such, I just want you to come into the pose. Just feel where your body is today at this precise moment in time, and then maintain the breath. Observing if there is any change in your breath. Activate the legs and the arms and the chest. Slowly grow into the physical pose, pushing the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs. But focus on the breath. Maintaining the smoothness of the breath. Wherever the next exhalation comes, we're going to go into dog up. Maintaining that softness and smoothness of the breath. Going into the pose on an out breath. Just maintain the breath, extend into the heels, broaden the diaphragm, broaden the collarbone, push into the heels. And go back into dog down on an out breath. Observe how the body changes, how the breath changes, but seek to maintain the 6 points of the breath with fluidity and smoothness. From holding you too long, then rest in Adho Mukha Virasana. If you can stay and maintain, then do. Observe how you make contact with the floor. Press the palms into the floor to take the weight off the heel of the hand. Again, with an out breath, come into dog up. Maintaining the breath. And go up on an out breath. Observe how the body has changed, how the breath changes. Restabilizing the breath. And then step your feet forwards, just come up into a standing position. And then using blocks for your hands, come into half uttanasana. So bringing your feet as wide apart as your mat. Toes turning inwards. So your hands on your hips, lift and open the chest. Observe your breath. Observe that consistent smoothness of the flow of the breath. Lift the chest with an in-breath, come forwards, maintaining that lift on an out-breath. Reach down and find your blocks, or use the back of a chair or tabletop, just to, if you've got a bad back, just to keep your spine safe. So observe how working with the breath makes you move into the pose more slowly, makes you move into the pose more mindfully. Activate your legs, the kneecaps, the thighs, the backs of the thighs lifting upwards, the shin bones lifting out of the ankle socket, the chin and the chest projecting forwards. Use the out breath into areas of discomfort or areas of dullness. Using the out breath to distribute the energy of the breath evenly throughout the body. You can go down a little lower, go down one step and into it incrementally. Activating the legs to lift out of the feet. Activating the chest to extend away from the hips. Maintaining that smoothness of breath. If you can go down a little lower, find the floor. Reset. Just working to observe the beginning, the middle, and the end of the breath. Consciously observing how the end leads to the middle. Ends to the, sorry, that didn't make sense. The end leads to the beginning. If you can go further in, keep the front chest lifted, reach around your heels, draw your elbows out to the side, draw the body down towards the floor and in between the legs. Maintaining the breath at whichever level you're working on. And then release your hands into half uttanasana. And then just bring your hands into your hips, bend your knees on the way up if you need to, and then come up into tadasana. So just be in tadasana, just allowing the breath to recover. Just going back to immediately observing the breath, using the energy of the in-breath to distribute around the body. Press the feet into the floor, lift the shins up to the kneecaps, up to the thighs, up to the hips, the pelvis, into the abdomen, into the rib cage, into the arms, into the neck, into the head. Consciously connect with each individual toe. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump the feet apart for trikonasana. Turn your left toes in, your right leg and foot all the way out. Just observe how the feet and the toes make contact with the floor. Maintaining the smoothness of the breath. Spread the toes of this left foot. Stamp the little toe side into the floor so that the outer thigh activates. Do it on both feet. And then tasnerize in the hips. And then go down on an out breath, a smooth out breath. Just look down at the floor rather than looking up, but turn the chest up to face the ceiling. Just observe how working with the breath makes you move more consciously. Brings your consciousness into the body and the brain. Feel your pose and correct it using the cognitive brain to observe the pose and to correct it using things that you have learned to improve the pose, maintaining the breath. Observe the lightness that comes into the bones. On an out breath, reach up and then come back to the center. Just release your arms for a second, swap your feet around. Sometimes it helps to go a little wider than usual. So stabilize your legs like you're stabilizing the breath. Bring the chest to face the front. Turn in the sandwiches, the cakes, and the petit fours. And then go down on an out breath. Look down, but turn the chest to face the ceiling. Observing the 6 points of the breath. Maintaining smoothness of the breath. And then come up on an out breath. Bring the feet parallel. And then step the feet together or jump the feet together on an out breath. Come back to Tadasana. Just observing your breath. So you might want a block for your hand on the left side of the mat and on the right side of the mat. Just use that if you need it for ardha chandrasana. So we're just going to do ardha chandrasana with a distinct focus on the breath. Just reset in your Tadasana. Just using the out breath to distribute the energy of the in breath. Remembering that the in breath is our commune with the cosmic energy that surrounds us. Making us part of our surroundings as much as our surroundings are part of us. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards the chest, and on an out breath, jump the feet apart. So we're exerting on an out breath. Turn the feet to the right side, so turn your left toes in, the right leg and foot all the way out, facing the front again. Observing the feet. And then come over on an out breath. Just look down, turn the chest up. Just observe the breath. Maintaining the smoothness of the breath even through exertion. Drop the top hand onto your hip, bend your front knee, and then hop in. Bring your hand onto the block or directly onto the floor, about a foot away from your foot on the little toe side, and then keeping the back leg straight. Straighten the standing leg. Turn the chest to face the front, but keep looking down so you can focus on the breath. Turning the top shoulder back, focusing on the breath. If you can reach up, or just leave your hand on your hip. Maintain the breath. And then come down back into trikonasana. And then on an out breath, come up. Bring the feet parallel. And then step or jump the feet back together. So maybe you notice things about your breath there, that poses that kind of physically and mentally challenge you. The breath changes. But if we can control the breath, then actually we can control all of it. So just come back into Tadasana. So with our chandrasana, it's a balance, and our natural instinct is to hold onto the pose so that we don't fall. But just find the pose and then find the breath, and allow the softness and the stability of the breath to bring stability to the pose. Because it's possible to gain control over our emotions through the breath. Because when we get angry or upset, it's our breath that goes first. And you hear people say count to 10 before you do something. But it's really observing the breath. Take deep, stable breaths before you act. Bring your arms out nice and wide, and on an out breath, step the feet or jump the feet apart. Turn the feet to the left side, so turning the right toes in, the left foot all the way out, and then reach down and come into trikonasana. Observe the breath. Stabilize the breath. Drop the top hand, bend your knee. Just come to the first stage before you lift and stabilize the breath. And when the breath is stable, come up into lifting the back leg, straightening the standing leg. Stabilize your breath. And then come down into a good trikonasana. So was your ardha chandrasana more stable? Come out of trikonasana on an out breath, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together, and then come back into tadasana. Just bring your feet hip width apart, turn your toes in, raise your arms up, hook the thumbs into the crease of the elbows, wrap your fingers around your elbows, just go halfway down, bringing your elbows onto the back of a chair or a table if you've got back problems. Otherwise, just come forward and then hang down. Maintaining the stable breath. Observe that how the breath brings a greater perception of the physical body. And then release your hands down to the floor. Come up into a standing position. And then just come down onto the floor. So you might need a block. You might need to sit on a blanket. So if when you stretch your legs out in dandasana, you struggle to lift the upper body, if the upper body kind of shrinks, sit yourself on a folded blanket. We can do janu sirsasana, the head to knee pose. So just roll over and just move the buttock flesh out of the way. So you need a belt as well. You might need a belt. Stretch your legs away. Feel that you can roll onto the front edge of the seat bones. And if you struggle to do that, then sit on a blanket. Lift and open the chest. Drive the spine upwards. Breathing evenly and deeply. Have the big toes touching. Have the heels slightly apart. Tadasanaizing the legs. Stabilize your breath. Get hold of the back of the left knee. Try not to disturb the seat bones as you bring that knee out to the side and into the foot into the thigh, like you're doing tree pose for sasana. So if this knee is kind of floating up in the air, then put a block underneath the head of the knee just to support it. So at this stage, your chest wants to go that way. So turn the torso, the cake stand, the abdomen around to the straight leg. So if you're cautious of coming forwards, then, or if you know you can't reach your foot, then just throw the belt around the foot, lift and open the chest. So the belt gives you real access into the spine. So you elevate the spine upwards and then turn the spine to face the straight leg. Remember that anantasana action of squeezing the bent leg buttock bone forwards to help assist the turn. So you can either stay at this stage, or if you know that you can reach your toes, or if there's no problem with your back, then raise your arms up, keep the torso facing the straight leg, and then keep the front chest as long as you can as you come forwards. Keep the front chest long, and then reach and get hold of the foot. If you can't hold the foot, then go back to the belt. At this stage, feel that you can draw the abdomen from the left to the right. So really drawing that abdominal skin from the left to the right, lifting and opening the chest, stabilizing the breath and coming forwards each time on an out breath. Keeping the front chest long as you come forwards, trying to descend the back chest. You have to really press this straight leg deeply into the floor. Bending your elbows out to the side. If you can reach around the foot, then do. Just keep coming forwards, keeping the front chest long, pressing that straight leg deeply into the floor for stability. If you can keep coming forwards, then bring the chest down, and then finally bring the head down. Maintaining the softness of the breath. Pressing the bent knee into the floor as well to stabilize the pose. And then lift your head and then come back to the center. Just observing that quietness of the brain when you come out of a forward bend. Just straighten out the left leg and just reset. So be in Dandasana, extend into the chest. So at this stage, it's useful to really remind ourselves to lift the front chest and to descend the back chest like a waterfall flowing downwards. Stabilizing the breath. Keep the seat bones in position and then bring the right leg out to the side, the knee out to the side, and then bring the foot up into the inner thigh. Stabilize this straight leg. Everyone just get hold of the belt and throw the belt around the foot. It just gives you this immediate sense of connection with the leg. So push the leg into the floor, extend the leg into the belt, and then find the extension in the spine. Stabilizing the breath. And then if you can reach up or just stay with the belt if you know that you can't reach the foot. Keep the legs stable as you come forwards, keeping the front chest long, finding the foot. Maintaining the lift of the front chest, the descent of the back chest. If you can reach around the foot, then do. Pressing that straight leg into the floor, really stabilizing that front leg. Come forward slowly and incrementally. And then, if you can, bring the chest onto the leg. Really stabilize that leg, pressing it into the floor. And then, if you can, bring the head down. Maintaining the stability of the breath. feeling the seat bones are evenly weighted. The breath is stable. And then lift the head. Come back to the center, just straighten out the leg. And then bring your legs into cross legs, into swastikasana. Sit on a blanket if you need to. Just hold onto your knees. Restabilize your breath. Lift and open the front chest. Draw the back chest down. Observing those 6 stages of the breath. And then turn to the right on an out breath. And then come back to the center. Hold on to your knees, lift and open the chest and turn to the left on an out breath. And then come back to the center. Just come down onto the floor. Just come into supta baddhakonasana. So rather than an inversion, supta baddhakonasana, just to ground yourself. So the seat bones, the feet are together, the knees are apart. Just keep your hands resting on your lower ribs. Just release into the floor, just maintaining that smoothness of breath. This helps to iron out any kinks in the back. Just maintaining the observation of the breath. Now that you're laying down, perhaps you notice how the chest rises upwards and outwards with the in-breath. Now the rib cage relaxes and closes a little with the out-breath. Okay, draw your knees together, pull your knees in towards your chest, just have a little rock from side to side. Then put the blanket underneath your head if it's handy. Move your equipment out of the way if you can. Just straighten yourself out down the centre of your mat. Take your glasses off if you're wearing them. And then just allow yourself to release down into the floor. Just normal breathing. Use your out breath to soften the muscles of the arms, soften the muscles of the legs. And then let go of any tension in the legs and in the arms, so that you feel that the energetic body rises up to the top of the skin. Distribute that feeling of energetic lightness evenly throughout the body, down to the tips of the toes, to the tips of the fingers, to the top of the head. And then when you're ready to disturb yourself, just wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, bend your knees, bring your knees into the chest, just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a little grounding massage on the spine. Bring yourself back into your physical body, or your consciousness back into your physical body, and then just roll onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then stretch out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in Namaste. Just a final spinal lift. Close your eyes, draw your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you've released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the reclining poses bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you have just brought lightness into your limbs and you've stretched yourself out. So thank you very much for joining me.